HTC's Evo 3D promises some of the most powerful hardware the company has ever distilled into a phone, and that's before you take into account its dual cameras and some 3D screen action. There are already a host of rivals ready to take it on, so let's see how it stacks up. The Evo appears to be a blend of design between the HTC Sensation and the Desire S, except for the earpiece with its notification LED and the proximity sensor along the front. The front of the device is populated by a 4.3-inch 3D LCD touchscreen and the 4 circular touch buttons found on every HTC phone sporting the Evo name. The glass frontage is finished with a black metal surround that really sets the design off. The phone's back is also clean with a black textured plastic back panel, solely inhabited by the 5-megapixel dual lens camera unit. It all feels well thought out and really nice to hold. The back panel comes off via the latch found on the underside of the device, and the top holds the power key and a 3.5mm standard audio jack. An exposed micro USB port is located on the upper half of the left side of the device, and the right side holds the volume rocker, a nice prominent hardware shutter key, and the handy 2D 3D camera mode switcher. As for what's under the hood, the Evo 3D's internals are not that dissimilar from HTC's other flagship device, the Sensation, albeit for one or two minor alterations. The display is the obvious difference, as the Evo uses a 3D LCD, however both have the same QHD resolution. The Evo 3D also has the same 1.2 GHz dual-core processor found in the Sensation, but tops up in the memory department to a whole gig's worth of RAM. Disappointingly, the phone's onboard storage is locked at 1 gig, however this is expandable via microSD up to a full 32 gig if you desire. There's a comprehensive list of connectivity options on the Evo 3D, with HSDPA support, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and a micro USB port with MHL support. The imaging rounds off the whole 3D package with a 5-megapixel dual camera unit, complete with a dual LED flash and a 1.3-megapixel camera on the front as well. When using the Evo 3D, it's easy to draw some comparisons, and with the range of other 3D mobile phones out there presently only stretching to 1 or 2 key manufacturers, such comparisons for the Evo sit neatly against the LG Optimus 3D, which came out earlier this year. The 3D depth on the screen of the Evo 3D is more subtle than that of the Optimus 3D, and that's not a bad thing, as some of us here at the office were quick to point out. However, watching stereoscopic content is largely defined by a person's physiological peculiarities, so no two people perceive the 3D effect the same way. What's good for some may be headache-inducing to others, so it's best you try both phones for yourselves. The HTC Evo 3D runs HTC's Sense 3.0 UI on top of the Android Gingerbread OS, but unfortunately, none of the cool 3D effects offered by the custom UI are visible in actual 3D depth. Overall, the screen is good. It's crisp and bright, and with QHD resolution it easily fits more readable content than some WVGA phones in its class. Viewing angles and contrast stability, however, are not as good as on the Optimus 3D. As we already mentioned, the depth of the glasses-free 3D effect is more subtle than that of the Optimus 3D, and as with any parallax technology, it's a case of finding the sweet spot when distancing the phone from your eyes. The Evo would have definitely benefited from a host of preloaded 3D content to enjoy out of the box, something the Optimus had covered, and an important aspect that HTC missed considering the scarcity of readily available 3D content at this stage. Viewing 3D stills and videos taken either on the device or via the YouTube app is a pleasant experience, that's for sure. It's also important to bear in mind that viewing 3D content only works in a landscape orientation, such as the nature of parallax 3D technology. Not a problem, but a note worth making. Thankfully, with the top tier hardware, the Evo doesn't need to rely solely on its 3D abilities in order to be a great phone. The web browsing experience is generally fast and smooth, including pinch to zoom and HTC's text reflow abilities, all present and correct. The Evo can even play 1080p embedded video when asked, so there's no problem when you want to take the Evo out on the web. Still, we experienced our share of glitches when browsing websites running Flash content. For all we know, it could be the Adobe Flash plugin to blame, but competing phones don't appear to have such problems. Our synthetic benchmarks did place the Evo above the Sensation, but below the Optimus 3D and the Samsung Galaxy S2, probably due to the higher resolution screen. However, in real-world use, operating the HTC Evo 3D is flawless. With respect to imaging, the Evo is a somewhat specialised environment to work with. The switcher on the side of the Evo toggles the cameras between 2D and 3D use. In 2D mode it takes 5-megapixel stills and offers face tracking, geotagging, and a host of photo filters to play with as well. Flip the switch to enable 3D mode however, and the Evo keeps all of these available extras, save for dropping the resolution down from 5 megapixels to 2 megapixels. As a frame of reference, the Optimus 3D takes 3D images at 3 megapixel resolution, even though it too has a 5 megapixel unit to begin with. Special mention must go out to the Evo 3D's large, shiny hardware shutter button, which has a fantastic feel and is quite probably one of the best on the scene. That's definitely a one up on the Optimus 3D, which lacks a physical shutter button altogether. 2D photos on the HTC Evo 3D may not be the best in the business, but they are okay, save for the pinkish purplish tint a lot of the camera samples get. Other than that, 2D image quality is quite on par with that of the Optimus 3D. The Evo can also record 720p HD video in 2D or 3D, so the switchover doesn't reduce quality here, but at the same time there's no option for 1080p HD video even in 2D mode, surprising for a dual-core device. Video quality is nothing to write home about, but it does an adequate job in either mode, and one plus we love seeing is the inclusion of stereo sound, something its main rivals missed a trick with. Rounding the whole thing off, the HTC Evo 3D is a peculiar phone to examine. It comes with SenseUI 3.0 and HTC trademark apps and services pre-installed, which give it a wealth of functionality out of the box. The screen is good, the camera performance is okay, and the 3D functionality can keep you engaged for quite some time. Even when the novelty of the 3D depth wears off, and you're done flaunting it in front of all your friends, you're still left with a pretty capable Android smartphone to keep you company. However, the negative side of the supplied rich feature set is that the Evo 3D almost sells itself short by spreading itself too thin. It's nearly impossible to be the leader on every front, and so it really depends on which features matter to you. If you like the idea of a 3D smartphone, the LG Optimus 3D makes for a more engrossing experience, with the 3D content such as videos and games bundled on the device, and a more pronounced 3D effect all round. Devices such as the Samsung Galaxy S2 also offer a brilliant smartphone experience, albeit robbing you of the 3D functionality. Or, if you have second thoughts about 3D altogether, but still want some HTC Sense goodness, then perhaps the HTC Sensation is for you. The HTC Evo 3D will give you an even spread across all of these fields, however, and that makes for a rounded experience that you'll love if you can live with a few shortcomings. For a full breakdown of the HTC Evo 3D and its abilities, read the full review including some 3D samples over at gsmarena.com.